we're gonna go live. It's hold on. I'll let you know in a second. It's loading.
Of course, my insulin pump goes off.
Oh,
Sorry, guys, I'm gonna have a low glucose attack.
okay, we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to another week of CV Tech Talk Live. For the month of February, we are bringing in a good friend of ours, Daniel Rocha. I mean, I've worked with Daniel probably for over 10 years now out in Cutler, Rocha, over in a middle school. And, and then Catherine, you worked with them at the county office. So
That's right.
We've kind of,
and I worked.
We have shared custody over Daniel.
And I worked right next door to his wife Vanessa.
Yeah. So
when I was teaching out there in Cutler, Rocha.
Yeah, we all go way back.
Oh yeah.
So welcome, Daniel. Thank you for joining us this week and leading our discussion on teaching math in a pandemic. You have been a math consultant for years and a math guru. I know definitely a resource that I've always looked to for math ideas, because that's definitely not my thing. I teach
ditto.
So yeah, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and just, I can say what I want, but go ahead and just tell us tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, are you getting the feedback I'm getting?
Nope.
No. Okay. I think we're good. So I taught middle school math for about 5-6 years, taught that for a while, was having a really, really great time with it. And unexpectedly, I got this opportunity to go work for the county office. And so that wasn't even something that was on my radar. So I was able to do that for 3 years, was able to travel. What's that?
It was right there when you got that email.
Yeah, man, I'm just thinking about it right now. And, the people we were just talking about, like, it's just like just coming back to me. But that was a great moment, man. Something that I never really expected to do. I was able to travel all across the country, work with different professors, teachers, math education leaders, period, and just learn from the best. And so that was awesome. I worked in Lindsay for a year. I was a learning director there. The thing about me is that I'm not afraid to go out on a limb. Sometimes that limb gives way, and hey, it is what it is, right? And so I came back, and so I did a little bit of time in the classroom. People laughed because they said you did time at county, and now you're doing some time in the classroom. And so right now my current title is assistant principal, and I'm loving being back home.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
It's great to have you back in the district. So our icebreaker today is this: if you were a beverage, what would you be and why? So I gotta think on that for a second. I'm not sure what I would be.
Yeah, that's an interesting
years
question.
ago, I would have been like a hobby IPA. Now I would be like a bold Zinfandel. But I am dabbling in the bourbons now. So like I don't know. I mean, I have a wide variety of beverages that I enjoy. What about you, babe?
Oh, if I was a beverage, what would I be and why? I'd want to be something complex, like maybe a red blend.
Okay. Because speaking of red blends, that's what we're drinking tonight.
Oh,
we are
there you
drinking a hookah. Okay, it is a Danish term. I forget exactly what it's right here on the back of the bottle here, but let's see. Hookah is a defining characteristic of Danish culture. It is actually the what's it called, the inspiration for this red blend was for a winery dog, and it's just like it's supposed to be this is a blend of Merlot, Cabernet, and Ruby Cab, all from different years. So it's bold, but it's an easy drinking wine. But it's not like light. It's not too heavy. It's just perfect wine that you could have every day. It's one of my favorites, and it was a hit at my dad's memorial service. Everybody loved this wine. They took home cases of it. So it's from Moravia Winery out in the West Fresno, place that we're a member of, and so we love to showcase our local wines. So
we've got a couple of people watching us here on Facebook Live, but they changed Facebook Live, so we don't know who you are, but welcome, and we're glad you're here. Daniel, if you were a beverage, what would you be? And why?
Mine's not as complex as what you guys have. Mine is 0 sugar, 0 calories, and it's a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because you can't tell the difference between a regular Dr. Pepper and a Diet Dr. Pepper.
That's right. I love it. That's great. Hey, quick question 1 just dropped. All right, so we're talking about mathematics right now. So which curriculum are you using and how are you adapting it for distance learning? Of course, those that are watching that don't speak math, that's fine too, but still the question remains. Why, how are you adapting your curriculum for distance learning? That's a good question.
Yeah, so then why don't you take that one away?
Yeah, what have you seen, Daniel?
So, well, I got to use Open Up Math, illustrative mathematics, the curriculum. So I was using that. I was using the task before the curriculum came out, and I was able to use the curriculum here lately. So what I did was actually pretty neat. I wanted to spend a lot of like my mental energy on like figuring out how to. I didn't want to spend it too much on the tech side of it. I wanted to figure out how to hit like those different DOK levels. So what I did was actually pretty easy. I went online, I took the PDF, talking to Adam, I was like, hey, I uploaded it, right? And I had the kids using, I started with DocHub, but we switched over to Kami because our school had a subscription. So we used Kami. And I was able to focus on the instructional strategies and the routines that I wanted to use rather than trying to figure out like all this fancy, complex, different ways of getting the material into the kids' hands. So mine was pretty elementary, I guess you would say, but it worked.
Yeah, you know, it's those simple things that use in innovative ways that really go the farthest in education. You know, yeah, you can use all the fancy techniques, but it's those simple things that, at least in my experience, I get the most mileage out of.
Yeah, that is true.
Much like things like edgy protocols.
Yeah.
Simple ways to, or fancy ways to use simple tools.
Well, like to what you said, Daniel, is that you don't want to focus on the tech. You wanted to focus on like the math and the DOK levels. So how do I make sure these kids are thinking critically, which is what we say all the time.
Yep.
We lead with learning, never with tech. So
yes.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Well, and you know what? The other thing that you hit on is I wanted it to be quick and easy. Like I wanted to be able to put that material out there quick for the kids. I don't want to spend 3-4 hours building something that's already been built by a bunch of other teachers, right? Like right now, it's a matter of being resourceful. There's a ton of resources out there, and we just need to know where to go, where to gather them from, and that's where I didn't want to spend a lot of my planning time. I wanted to be able to make it better. I didn't want to waste time like trying to figure out how to upload it into different platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, that again sounds much like an Edgy protocol. And speaking of Edgy protocols, we have a new Edgy protocol math edition coming out.
Oh yes.
Co-authored by our good friends Lisa Nowakowski and Jeremiah Roosh. So that one is going to be a hit, I'm sure. I know it's definitely going to be a great resource for people teaching online, or in a hybrid or high flex, which we don't like, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. And I think it's definitely going to make a lot of people's lives a lot easier.
Yeah, because like you say, you don't want to be spending. Most teachers I know right now are spending so much more time prepping now than they ever have before.
Yep.
And so, absolutely, I agree with you. Just finding a way to not recreate the wheel is the way to go.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get my hands on that book. But you might know a thing or two more about it, Daniel. I don't know if you've looked into or heard much about math reps and all those things that Jeremiah and Lisa are doing.
You know what? Jeremiah is going to get me on this one. He sent me a copy of it, and I haven't been able to sorry, Mathco Valley. I haven't started digging into that one just yet.
But you have it, so you know.
I have it. I have one of those early copies in my hands, and I'm like, I have that golden ticket, and
it's not even published yet. Like
it's going to come out a great time right before spring Q. So it's a good time. I know ours came right out I think it dropped the day before fall Q.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right before a big conference is a great time to release a book or some kind of new resource.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's see. So babe, you've spent more time in like elementary classes and you've seen a lot more math than me. I don't see math as often. I was seeing math a lot more last year when I made a point to visit every math class, but you see math more than me. What are some of your things that you've noticed?
From a distance, It's been tricky for the elementary teachers, because especially if they, in the past, which I'm sure, I would think that Daniel, doing a bunch of worksheets is probably not the way you should teach elementary math, right? But if I had been a teacher that was doing that, didn't really know what else to do, now I've had to have my kids start drawing on whiteboards and showing me on their camera. And that's something that's good.
Yeah.
The challenge, though, has been manipulatives, because we know that kids need to, those teachers that are like, I know my kids need to hold stuff, and they need to, like, for that number sense, they need to actually put 5 things there and develop that one correspondence by pointing to each thing and feeling it. So that's been a struggle. I haven't really found a great way to solve that for them. I don't know if you know of any.
So there's a couple things that I've used. So remember that mathematics represents something in life,
Okay.
right? So mathematics was founded on that idea that it's representing, that you're counting objects, you're counting something. So too often we think that mathematics is about the crunching of numbers. It's a shortcut for representing something. And so back to what you were saying, what was the question again?
Oh, just like with those teachers that were used to using manipulatives are struggling with how to do it from distance.
So Desmos has a ton of activities that are already built.
Where, too?
Yeah, I want to say that they've even started building in for the younger kids.
Oh, cool. Okay.
There's activities that are already built. There is Open Up Math has in their curriculum, they have embedded web links that connect you to GeoGebra applets, right?
Yeah.
Is that the right term? Applets for that? And so the GeoGebra pieces allow you to draw, construct. And so that's one of the things that I've always talked to all of my friends about is don't forget the conceptual. We have that procedural. We're familiar with the worksheets, but don't forget the conceptual. That's how we get those struggling kids on board. Everybody says, my kids aren't at grade level. This isn't for my kids. It's too hard for them. That's because they don't have that conceptual piece to understand the mathematics that it's representing.
You know, I think I like that you say that conceptual piece. I'm thinking from a social studies teacher's brain here, and that's kind of how we've shifted our teaching this year. It used to be, I mean, traditionally it was like, okay, history started at this time, and we're going to go as far to close to the present day as we can. This year we're teaching it thematically, so that reminds me of teaching it conceptually. So we're looking at these themes that have reoccurred throughout American history, and you know, so we're going through the timeline over and over and spiraling back and hitting a lot of the same things over and over throughout the year, but through different themes. So I really like that, you know, how that's kind of a more natural fit. But we are in math, but we're now trying to apply that kind of similar strategy to the way we teach history, which leads us to question number 2 that just dropped, and it says, which instructional routines and pedagogical practices have you modified for distance learning? So that's a big one.
That's
Rochambeau, who goes first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we get started with that question, Daniel, Christina, we got some people talking here on Facebook. Jen Franconi says hi.
Hey,
and then so Christina Walker says manipulatives have saved her life in virtual classrooms. So she's definitely agreeing with you and says the amount of engagement is excellent. Cindy Salinas uses Nearpod in 2nd grade, so she can see all the work at once. And she's talking about addition and subtraction, regrouping, and they do lots of drawings and use things they find at home, like pretzel sticks for 10s, Cheerios for 1s. That's excellent. I love it. So Daniel, as far as this question, yeah, how would you answer that? What instructional routines and pedagogical practices have been modified for distance learning in your experience?
Okay, so hold on to that one for just a second. Let's go back to that conceptual piece.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to play a game that they're not good at, right? You're not going to show up to baseball practice if you're not good at baseball. You're not going to show up to math class if you're not good at math. And that's where that conceptual piece comes in. So that's awesome. All right. So instructional routines that we've modified. Number talks. Number talks is like my holy grail. And so I was in the classroom And I was just trying to wrap my head around, how do I do number talks in distance learning? Because I can't have them give me the thumbs up, like that kind of works, but it wasn't as effective. Half the kids have their camera on, some of them are glitchy. So what I did is I put the problem up, and I said, and maybe we can do this in the comment section on Facebook or on Twitter. So like if we had a problem like 4 times 7,
Okay.
right? 4 times 7, how would you solve that? And I would present that to the kids, and I would write it on the board, 4 times 7. Now put it in the chat, but don't hit post until we give you the cue, right? Like a waterfall.
Waterfall chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like a waterfall. And what I would tell the kids is I want you to write it using a mathematical expression. So if you thought of it like 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, so then write it out, right?
Mhm.
If you thought of it as 7 times 2 plus 7 times 2, then we would move into like, I was starting to plant those seeds for other standards that I was going to be teaching later in the year.
Mm.
The one thing that I was really proud of, and I know it's not that great of an idea, but the thing I was really proud of was I found out that a lot of kids were present but weren't responding in the chat because they didn't know what to say.
Mm.
So I gave them that safety of, hey, you know what, if you're there but you don't know and you're not sure, put in a question mark.
Oh, that's
Or
good.
put in your answer, put in like whatever you think the answer is, and put a question mark after it. That tells me that you're listening, you want to participate, you're not sure if your answer is correct, and that's okay. It's okay to be wrong. Just put it out there and see what you think. That little tweak of adding a question mark got me so many more responses from my students that it was awesome. Like that, their affect filter, their stress level went down. So that was a nice little tweak with number talks.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's like you say, a little thing, but that's makes a huge difference. That's a great idea.
Yeah, well, one of my big things before COVID was, individualized feedback and one-on-one conversations with students. I had my classroom set up where, I was meeting with virtually every kid every day, face to face, one-on-one. So I mean, and I couldn't wrap my brain around how was I gonna do that in distance learning. And honestly, it was till about maybe 3 weeks ago what finally dawned on me. And it's something I'd heard of, but I'd never really digested it, and then it just kind of it clicked when people. I've heard many people talk about using breakout rooms in Zoom, but individualized, where it's
Mhm.
one for every kid. I'm like, I don't know why it took me so long for it to just hit me, but it did. I'm like, oh, so when there's my face to face, my one on
Yeah,
one,
with that one kid.
that was my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Especially on our block days when we had block schedule. I met with every kid multiple times, and then now I'm able to do that
Oh,
again.
that's
So that was
great.
something, a simple idea adapted to really bring back that way to build that rapport with students that I'm just not able to do nearly as well, in distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. One that I really liked as well in the classroom was the 5 practices for orchestrating mathematical discussions, right? So like present a problem, let the kids kind of grapple with it, let them talk in their groups, and then come back. Now this one we needed to have breakout rooms. And so if the students have access to those breakout rooms, I presented the problem to the class. Critical point here is you have to assign roles. And so in a typical classroom, I want no more than 4 kids in a group. In a Zoom breakout room, I want 5 to 6 kids because 1 or 2 won't make it into the breakout room. 1 or 2 will they'll have their camera on or off, or they'll be cooking food for brother, right? And so I found that if I had 5 or 6 in my groups, that worked really well because I could count on 3 to 4 to get the job done. Present the problem, send them through their breakout rooms, they come back, and then I let when they came back after 15 to 20 minutes, they would present out their solution. Little hack that I learned was once I had my breakout rooms listed, depending on the day of the week, so today's Wednesday, the 3rd person in every breakout room was the team captain that was responsible for sharing out what their team discussed. And so take a picture, because as soon as you send them to the breakout room, that one kid drops out and then they rejoin and they're no
Oh,
longer, then you're like, what room are you in? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
all right. Well, question 3 just dropped, and question 3 says, "Who do you go to for distance learning, hybrid or high flex math ideas and resources?" So, who are your math gurus? We'll let you take that one, Daniel. You are much more deeply ingrained in the math community than we are.
Because we would probably go to you.
Yeah, you're definitely on our list.
There is no one that I won't go to. I was going down to like my history teacher when I was in Woodlake and asking her like, hey, here's what I want to do in the math class. How can I do this? Can you help me? But in the math world, Dwayne Hawbecker is my guy. Math Cavalli, Fawn Nguyen. Fawn and I were doing a lot of work. Fawn's doing some great stuff, you guys, where she's taking some of those open up resources and we were converting those into Spanish. So to help provide equitable access to students, right? We have a lot of ELs in the Central Valley. I struggled with that. Well, I didn't struggle with that because I speak Spanish fluently until I had a student in my classroom that only spoke Arabic. That woke me up. But yeah, Morgan Stripe with Open Up Resources, Dan Meyer, Graham Fletcher, Robert Kaplinski, Eddie Campos, Adam Juarez, Tech Coach Juarez.
Yeah, I've dabbled in math a little bit. One that I got some good mileage out of was math blogs and trying to get writing into math. Where okay, well you solve the problem. Now you're taking pictures of the steps, and you're gonna publish that as a blog on Blogger, and that was definitely my biggest foray into math. But it was a good collaboration.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, we've got Lisa Nokoski
right.
on the call on Facebook here. So we were just talking about you, all good things, talking about your book that's going to be coming out. Pretty excited. And Dwayne Hawbecker's on the call as well. So he heard your shout out also. Cool.
Yeah, it's been good. We're starting to do some work with Robert Kaplinski, doing some seminars for him. So
we're not doing math things.
Yeah, we're not doing math stuff. He's trying to branch out from math, but he's definitely a guru that I've gone to before in the past, and it's been an honor to collaborate with him and just to see the way he breaks things down. It's like he's a machine, and he sees every angle that no one else sees, and it's been
a great guy, man. I was at my first math conference, and I was like I was like a little stray just walking around with nowhere to eat. And he like, hey, come over here, sit down, eat lunch with us. And people were like, how do you know Robert Kaplinski? And I was like, I don't know him.
I was alone, and he was a nice guy. Yeah, great dude. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, that's how I kind of first palled up with Joe Marquez. It was at my first time at Q, and I was at a bar after hours, and he saw me. He invited me over with 3 other Google innovators, and that planted a seed in my head, right there. That whole meeting with them and telling me about the process, and then within a year later, there I was.
Now those examples, and I have several as well. Those examples show why you can never replace a virtual a physical conference, in-person conference with a virtual conference. And I'm not saying that you can't do great things with a virtual conference, because you can, but there's something about the energy and just you're not going to like see someone on Zoom and be like, hey, I should go talk to that person. Maybe they'd have some good ideas about math. Like, no, you're not going to do that. So
yeah, it's a different ballgame. Like when you go to these conferences, for whatever that you specialize in, it's like a family reunion every year. That's what it feels like. It's, and then all of a sudden, like so many new ideas are just born off of those connections and those off chance meetings and stuff. And I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah. Just this chance to like chat with you guys about it. Like I'm getting those chills.
Yeah.
Vanessa would always tell me, like, you come back from these conferences so energized, so excited to get back into the classroom.
Yeah.
Just reliving that.
Well, ISTE is supposed to happen in late June. I don't know.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in San Antonio. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
we'll see what happens.
Maybe that vaccine will end up being a miracle.
I hope the vaccine goes viral in a good way.
Yes.
Like goes viral to get rid of the virus.
That's right. I might be back in San Antonio.
Yeah, we shall see.
Always a great time. But speaking of conferences, we have another minute before the next question drops. Spring Q's coming up very soon.
Yep.
Very soon, and it's very affordable because you don't have to travel. It's all again like Fall Q, like Spring Q last year. It's going to be 100% virtual, and there's going to be something for everybody. In my
there we go.
We're back. The camera decided to have a glitch on us, but we're good. But yeah, definitely. It's a great price, and you don't have to pay to go out to for hotels and eating out in Palm Springs for 4 days. And it's good
CMC
stuff.
CMC Central is around the corner, right? Usually right around Pi Day, right around 3.14.
That's right. Yeah. So
Right? I'm
I
not,
remember it always being similar times. Yeah.
All right, yeah, that'll work. So yeah, so there's a lot of good. Still, we're still virtual, but those opportunities to connect, any way that we can connect. I think I will say, as annoying as it's been to do everything virtual, I think it's brought a lot more people closer together, in
In a lot of
in
ways.
a
Yeah.
lot of ways. And I really think that once we're allowed to go back to normal, I mean we're gonna those bonds are gonna be much stronger, because we and because there's a lot of people that we would have never reached out to that we have now,
Yeah.
because of the pandemic. So it's it just needs to hurry up and be over with, please.
Yes.
I imagine the hugs at those conferences are going to be
Oh,
some
yeah.
big hugs.
Yeah, definitely. So, yep, hurry up with the.
Oh,
with
here
the,
we go. CMC Central is March 12th and 13th.
All right, thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Oh, and Laura Voschel says she has 30 plus
Oh.
books that need our signature. So
Okay, well,
Laura, we will
There you go.
definitely make a trip out there and sign some books for you. All safely, of course.
oh, question 4 did just drop.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Oh, I had a
Oh, you had a Twitter fail.
Twitter fail. I didn't put the hashtag. Look at me. It's been a long day here.
Man, it's been a while since we've done
Yeah,
something
I
like
haven't done
that.
that in years, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit that. All right, there.
It's okay. We learn from our mistakes.
That's right.
Growth
Yeah.
mindset. Growth
Yeah,
mindset.
what's that? Where did I see it? Yesterday or today? I saw it on Twitter, where it was someone turned the word math into to an acronym about mistakes are something where something happens, and
Okay.
and
Okay.
yeah, it was a cool little acronym.
Oh, mistakes allow thinking to happen? Something
Yes,
like
there you go.
Oh, that's
it.
pretty
Yes.
good.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Hey, speaking of growth mindset too, I was looking at other growth mindset resources today, and I saw Joe Bowler has, I'm sure you already know, Daniel, but she has these like video series of these like kids helping her walk through like how growth mindset works, and like even with the brain research and stuff. It's really cool. I think it'd be good for like maybe, I don't know, middle school, high school.
when I was talking to Joe one day, during one of the conferences, I was telling Joe, this book is not about mathematics. This is about
Yes.
like life. This is about
Yeah.
parenting. This is like a must read for every teacher.
Oh, and by the way, Daniel is mentioned in Joe Bowler's book.
That's right.
So I was
Oh,
you didn't
yeah.
even tell me, and then I'm reading her book. I
Yep.
ordered it like the day it was out or something, and I'm, oh my gosh, I know Daniel. He's in this book. I don't know Joe Bowler like you do, but I was like super excited.
I told my dad this story, man, and I haven't seen my dad in a while. He lives in Texas, and I get to see him once a year if we're lucky. And I called and I told him about it, and I think for the first time I heard my dad cry.
Mm.
It was so cool. Neat story in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you haven't read it, what's it called again? I haven't read it in so long.
I just say Joe Bowler's book.
No, but it's her second one.
Yeah.
What's it called, Daniel? Limitless? No. Limitless?
Limitless.
I think it might be. It's colorful on the outside.
Yeah, mathematical mindsets is what comes to mind right away. But
Yeah, that's where that would go. So question 4 is here, and it says, for math instruction and distance learning, how are you accommodating English learners and students with poor internet access? So how is math adapted for those issues? Oh man, yeah, I'll turn it over to you, Daniel.
throw me on the hot seat, huh?
Yeah.
You know what? So there's a couple of things. One, you have to grant them that leniency and understanding to know that they've got a bunch of other things that are going on. When it comes to the Wi-Fi, you guys, when I was learning director out in Lindsay, I had a kid who was a great kid, but at 2:00 in the morning, he was turning in assignments. And the next day I went in to work and I was like, hey, what are you doing, man, at 2:00 in the morning online? Mr. Rocha, that's when the Wi-Fi is the fastest. He goes, you know how long I sat there for an hour waiting for this assignment to upload, and then it failed. He goes, so I did it again. I waited an hour and it failed. He goes, so I had to wait till 2 in the morning to get access to turn it in. and he was an 8th grader, so he needed these assignments turned in. um, we have a lot of kids. Here's my worry. I don't we're okay where I don't consider myself middle class socioeconomically, but I have the resources to help my kid make sure that he's able to get online anywhere that he needs to be able to get to the education that he needs to. I worry about the kids that don't, because that divide, that gap is going to grow so much more between the haves and the have nots. And so trying to get them that access to the internet is one. Two, making sure that you're giving them multiple avenues to access the material. It could be like a video that you upload that they can watch at a later time. It could be PDFs that don't take as much bandwidth, right? Allowing them to have their camera off if they need to. Allowing them to, sometimes they have to take, I had a kid who's like cooking in the kitchen, and I'm like, hey, join us for class. I can't, Mr. Rocha, got to make my brother breakfast. Oh, yeah, you're right, So just kind of keeping those things in mind. Providing access for those EL students. Lots of resources. Adam shared a great one the other day with the Translate, right? Or YouTube having those captions embedded. I love that YouTube now like embeds captions right in the middle of the video. Like we're putting those people front and center. We're not putting them down here at the bottom anymore, right? We're putting everybody front and center. I love that approach.
That was Google Meet now, and it's accurate as hell. It's live. I have to catch myself, make sure I don't talk too fast so it can keep up with me. But it's pretty accurate. And I know PowerPoint has that built in. A lot of people forget
Yes.
PowerPoint. Microsoft has done a great job of with their translations and their captions as far as the speed and accuracy. So I know a teacher came to me, hey, I learned that PowerPoint did. I go, yeah, it does, dude. I go, you don't have to use
Been
Google,
doing it for years.
You don't have to use Google Slides. If you want to use PowerPoint and then record yourself, you lecturing over your PowerPoint and your translations there, go for it. It works. Another Microsoft one is one that I'm in the middle of a blog on is Immersive Reader. And I know I heard you talking about that today.
I did in a class tonight.
During your class this evening.
That's right.
Immersive Reader, man, it's a great way to instantly get any kind of text into another language. And part of the blog I'm writing is a way to now you can simply have it played where it's read to them, and then just take your favorite screencasting software and record it, and boom, you have a video of instructions or primary sources, or in math, I'm thinking of a word problem, and all that's going to be read out loud to them in the language of their choice. So many options out there.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Desmos has created. They have a lot of they have lessons in French. They have math lessons in a lot of different languages. That to me is amazing. Man, there's just I think I go back to thinking about the student that I had who spoke Arabic. Alice Keeler shared out a Google spreadsheet, and it wasn't the best, but I'll take it because I was able to type into it in English and it would translate into Arabic. The student typed in Arabic and it translated into English. And so we were able to have somewhat of a conversation through a Google sheet. It wasn't as personal as I would have liked, but
it's something.
There was something.
Yeah, helps.
It's a nudge in the right direction.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
All right, man. Well, time flew.
It sure did.
Yeah, when you're hanging out with your friends and having a good time, time always flies. So I want to thank everybody on Facebook and on Twitter for joining in this week. And again, thank you to our good buddy Daniel Rocha for joining us and leading our discussion on math and lending his expertise on the subject. So
hey, great seeing you guys.
Yep. So we will see you next month with another guest. We have now shifted to a once a month Facebook Live. So,
but every week
on Twitter, once a month on Facebook Live. So we will see you guys sooner rather than later.
Be safe.